Infrastructure is crumbling and the problems are only getting worse. The pressure to find solutions is hot. Let's talk about why American cities have no water, no electricity, and no money to fix their infrastructure problems. Welcome to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast, hosted by Chad Smeltzer.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast. My name is Chad Smeltzer. I am your host. Today's guest is Donnell Duncan with Arcadis. You're the Associate Vice President, right, Donnell?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining me on this podcast. Excited to talk to you about, it looks like you've written some books. You do speaking events. You're a pastor at your church. Give us a little history of where you started in, infrastructure. What got you so excited to move into that field?
So growing up, I wanted to be a lawyer. And when it was time to make that decision in high school, right around the age of around 13 or 14, my parents had a candid conversation with me. I wanted to do English and literature. That was history. My dad has a history degree, and he was like, look, you can do STEM and you're going to make some money.
Yeah.
Or you can go down the path of the arts and you're going to be broke. But you might be happy, but you're going to be broke. And you're probably going to end up being a teacher, just like me. And we have had more than enough teachers in the family. So my advice to you is go into STEM. And that was the candid conversation we had to get the wheels turning in my head as to STEM. And that kind of pushed me in the right direction. I always had a passion for geography. That was one of my favorite subjects as I got into STEM, and, math, physics, because, in the sciences, there's physics, chemistry, biology, the core natural sciences, and physics was the one that really stuck out to me. So combined physics and geography, I end up into civil engineering. And that's how I got into civil engineering. So my actual first degree is in applied physics.
Okay.
And then my next degree is in civil engineering, and then I specialize in structural engineering.
So you went from physics and got into structural engineering, and that makes total sense.
So, and then funny thing is, I'm a structural engineer who's been in the water industry my entire career, starting from a freshman in college. I was a freshman in college, and that summer I had no job that first summer. And I was just in my aunt's basement wasting away during my first semester. I went to a school called Morehouse College in Atlanta.
Okay.
I always like to shout out Morehouse because that's the school that Martin Luther King Jr. went to. And I had nothing to do at home. So I picked up one of the free papers, and there was a tryout for a boy band. And I was like, well, I could stay here all summer and do nothing, or I could go try out for this boy band.
Right.
So I go to the boy band tryouts, and I have no car. So I'm riding the bus, and I get to the bus station.
Yeah.
And at the bus station for the tryouts, I meet this guy who's really upset. He's just there upset. He's walking up and down, upset, waiting for the bus, just like me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, for some strange reason, I was like, man, what's going on? How you doing? He's like, boy, I work for the civil engineering firm, and somebody walked off the job today, and we're mapping the sewer system of the city of Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, civil engineering, you see?
I love how your hands are going together. You're like,
That's how I got into the water business, and I've never left.
That is a cool story. So you just go back to STEM. So did you go through a whole STEM program and then?
Yes. So in high school, math, physics, chemistry, biology, all of that, advanced high school, all the sciences, and then went into physics in a dual degree program between Morehouse College and Georgia Tech. Okay. So I did my civil engineering undergrad at Georgia Tech, my civil engineering master's at Georgia Tech, and then I did my applied physics bachelor's at Morehouse College.
And you're going to this not an event, but you meet this person who works in engineering on the street. Sounds like at a bus station.
Yep.
and you guys just hit it off.
Yeah, well, I never knew about water and like water resources, sewer. I just never thought of that as a career because I wanted to be a physicist.
Right.
And then I wanted to be a structural engineer. So I was thinking I'm going to design like stadiums with retractable roofs for like NFL teams and high rises downtown with luxury $2 million penthouses. I was like, "Ooh, I'm about to be living it up." And then you see me in a wastewater plant now, designing trenches and buried infrastructure. But that's fine. It's useful.
Welcome to underground utilities. It's an interesting place to be. That's for sure. There's what's amazing is you brought up like mapping of a sewer system, GIS, geographical information systems. That's huge in asset management for our field, right? So, what do you think that we'll be able to do in the future with like GIS systems? I kind of jumping into that a little probably early, but I'm just curious, since we're kind of there with the mapping part, what that envision you see with some of that stuff.
So I started off grabbing GPS points at each of the manholes.
Oh, you did the field work. Okay.
Yes, it was the field work I did.
Okay.
So, and then opening it up and looking to see what direction the pipes were going in, measuring the dimension of the pipes to determine, because the city of Atlanta has like hundreds and hundreds of years old infrastructure. So some of the information is not actually current. So, that's what I was doing. So I see this in the metaverse. Like when we're done, you can enter a city in the metaverse and go down into the manhole and walk around in the pipes. If the pipes are big enough, of course.
Right.
And, because in the metaverse, you shouldn't be able to do things that you shouldn't be able to do. So, be able to, get into a big pipe and see the condition, because it should be real time, and all the camera data from all the pipes should already be entered into all of our GPS points and our GIS.
Yeah.
And the artificial intelligence should be able to create the full experience so that you can actually be a part of it in the metaverse. So that's the future. Yeah,
it is. You're talking kind of like the digital twin world where we're going to go into VR.
Yes.
AR. It's man, it's going to be an awesome place to be in the future. It's exciting to get into what Esri's doing with their mapping systems and stuff like that, and how you guys are gathering that information. What was some of the experiences you had out doing the mapping or GISing, doing the surveying with the rod? You had to, what is it? Was it sub-centimeter back then, or was it like a couple feet?
Well, we were a little high tech because we had the digital version. So we had the dish at the top of it.
Yep.
So all I needed to do was just have a laptop and set up the equipment on the center of the manhole. And I can gather the data using GPS. So I did not need old school surveying equipment. So I think we were pretty accurate at that point in time, because, I'm not that old to the times where things weren't accurate. So I was already at the point where we have laptops and we had digital ways of capturing data. So unfortunately, I don't have any of those stories about back in the day. Let me tell you, we were like one mile away when we captured it. So you could kind of hope you close by.
It was behind the house, yeah.
No, with approximate locations. No.
Right.
It was relatively accurate at a point in time. I think they're probably still using that data now, obviously, because I think at that point in time, that was the hot thing, to get all the information mapped so they could update the GIS. So, and I'll tell you what was funny. The one thing the company always told me was, never take your eyes off the equipment. And I did. And the wind blew and knocked it over and smashed one of the antenna receivers.
Yeah.
And they docked my paycheck to pay for it. So really? I'll never forget that experience. Yep, I paid for that equipment. It came out of my paycheck. Yeah. So it's all good. It was part of growing up. So I had to learn, do not take your eyes off the equipment in the field, because the wind could blow it over. So that's
nowadays it doesn't sound legal at all, but
Yeah, but I didn't think about it. I was an intern.
Oh, okay.
After my freshman year. So the last thing on my mind was they couldn't do it. I was like, oh well, that's on me.
That makes it even worse, though. Find out that they deducted it and you were an intern.
My pay. Wow. I paid for the equipment.
Well,
I did.
it's part
I
of doing
did.
business. That's why we carry insurance. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm the insurance. Call
Okay.
the insurance.
Got it.
Is the insurance.
Yeah, making sure it was never going to happen again.
It would never happen again. That was one of those object lessons you could
Yeah.
never tell me to ever forget.
Yeah.
To keep my eye on the equipment.
So now you're in, you did the field work, you got that experience doing asset, grabbing data points, asset management, and you're in the structural engineering. Did you just transition into structural engineering? Did you work with someone to learn more about that?
So during my tenure as a structural student
Okay.
at Georgia Tech, I did get the opportunity to be an intern at a consulting firm.
Mm-hmm.
Who grabbed me when I was in grad school to work with them. So I actually started working on a brand new water treatment plant in New York, 290 million gallons per day.
Oh.
It took me 10 years because I did that intern and then I went there to work full time. And the first 10 years of my career, I worked on the same project.
Okay.
It was over $1 billion in construction, and at the time, it was the biggest construction project in New York after the Yankee Stadium.
Okay.
So,
wow.
I got a chance to really learn it within the job, because in school, we really focused on high rises and we focused on more commercial type infrastructure. That's, I went to Georgia Tech, and the average Georgia Tech structural engineer is doing something very fancy.
Right.
So I was just not one of them. So it's all good. Like skills to buried infrastructure and sanitary structures.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people would love to get in that position that you had to be a part of the water facility you were developing in New York. That's huge. I mean, 250 million gallons a day. That's a big water system.
Yep.
Was it water or sewer? I'm sorry.
It was water. So that
water. Okay.
that design, we built it under the driving range of a golf course in the Bronx.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's good stuff. So what did you like so much about structural engineering that kind of put you in this position now to become an author? I would assume it's a combination of like your personal life and your business life, right? Work life. What has I guess being a structural engineer, I'm sorry, I'm like, stuttering on my words here, but how did it help you become who you are today? That's probably the word, question.
Yeah. So one of the things I learned is skills are transferable.
Yeah.
They are not stuck to any particular field. So any skill that someone has, you can leverage that skill wherever you are. So I'm very analytical. So I'll give an example. So during the GRE for grad school, my analytical score was 720 out of 800. Nice. So analytical, I do analytical.
Yeah.
And because I'm analytical, I actually bring that same analytical mindset that I bring to structural engineering to the business. So I'm in business development, dealing with contracts, dealing with clients, dealing with money, having to meet metrics and address goals, etc. I'm very analytical in that approach. I'm very analytical to my preaching. So if you ever come to church and you see me preach, I have a PowerPoint with very detailed points. I pull out the scripture and I'm like, it says this here, it says this over there, it says that over there. Just like if I was looking at a contract, or just like if I'm looking at a building, I use references to buildings in my teachings. So I talk about being God's building and the foundation being Jesus. And I mean, I everything I do, it's all blended together. That's amazing. Then when it comes to being a people person, I bring the same approach to people regardless. So if I'm dealing with people inside of work, I'm dealing with people at the client, I'm dealing with people at church, or people within the industry, people are people. And I realize that it doesn't matter where you are or what the people do. And it doesn't matter what level they are. Because you think people are different if they are at this level of the organization versus that level. No, they're the same. In fact, the further along you go in life, everything starts reminding you of high school. Like, this is just like high school. This is some high school stuff going on right now. It feels like high school. It's the same thing we're doing years later that we were doing in high school. You could just kind of, project into
Right.
adulthood. Some of the same stuff. So yeah.
Wow, that's you're Donnell. That's really unique for an engineer, in your position, to be able to do these different things. Because most, no offense to engineers, not everyone's an entrepreneur like spirit like you. Is what what I'm getting from our conversation, and that's a really unique skill set to have. Right? It's just being able to present yourself, talk about the problems, like you're putting it all together. Like you said, you're very analytical. That's awesome. So is that what motivated you to become the author of your new book, and what you're doing with that? And then obviously you're branding yourself and getting yourself out there and representing what you do and what your passion is. And is that some of the things that all started from there?
So it started with my parents. So my dad has written like over 40 books.
Yeah.
And then my mom has written 8 books. My brother is an author. My sister's an author. So the family is a family of writers.
Yeah.
I'm the kid who used to win essay competitions in high school.
Wow.
So I would be the guy who would enter essay competitions knowing I'm about to get this money. So I would have fun being like, oh, let me go get this $500 here because I want to tear up this essay. So that was me in high school.
That's
so
awesome.
I always knew that my first love was being a writer. Even above speaking, I love to speak, but I love to write first.
Okay.
Speak, and as a result, I remember I did a report, forensic investigation of a failed column on a time. And when I was done with the report, the president of the company reached out to me and was like, "That report was awesome. Like, how did you write that?
Right.
I've never seen a report like that, And I was thinking, it was just a report. But in my mind, I don't separate things.
Yeah.
If I'm going to write something, I'm going to write it. In the same way, if I'm going to say something, I'm going to say it. Whether I'm saying it as a preacher or I'm saying it on a technical presentation. I've done forensic investigation presentations that folks were like, dude, what was that? I was like, what? It's a building that failed. And I can give you the same story, like if somebody's life failed and how you can be better as a person, I connect the whole thing together. So like I explained the failed column like someone who broke their leg. And I said, we put something called, we fixed the column the same way you put a cast around somebody's foot.
Yeah.
And I just used the analogy and explained how we came up with the idea of finding the solution.
Right.
Like, how do you do that? It's like, well, you bring your whole self to life. And that is one of the things that I've learned over the years. It wasn't something that originated with me. Thankfully I had someone help me to understand to not live siloed, to not just take your skills and apply them in one area and not use them in another area. And that person was actually an executive coach that Arcadis had me work with, told me, hey, if you were to bring your whole self to life, if you were to bring your whole self to everything you did, what do you think would be possible? Because right now you're very siloed. You only bring piece of yourself here, piece of yourself there. And I thought, you know what? I'm like, you're about to see all of me everywhere. Deal with it.
So
that's what I decided.
You flipped the switch right then. I mean, it took a little coaching and put it all together, and then it just opened up so many doors. It sounds like for you. That's amazing. And, and I think coaching is a huge, unutilized, just support that people need. CEOs, engineers, working on high risk things or building things. Coaches make a huge difference in the way they look outside of you and give you a different perspective on things. So that's amazing. What is the I think it's the Cracked Door Foundation you have going on. What can you explain what that is?
So what happened when I had just finished grad school, I started working.
Yeah.
I had this idea for my first book. And it was called I Curse Death. What if God said we didn't all have to die? And I had this whole thing from the scriptures that talked about life in Jesus Christ and eternal life and all that type of stuff. And when I was done with the book, one of the things I learned from writing my first book was the publishing company expects the author to do promotion. Like they're not just going to do all the work now. So I was like, oh, so that's when I created the website Wastewater.com as a just to promote the first book that I wrote.
Right.
And it just kind of took on a life of its own because I started blogging.
Yeah.
And once I started blogging, and that was before now, of course, that's before social media really took off.
Right.
That's blogs now. It's like 2023, right? But back then, you know what I'm saying, when blogging was a thing,
right.
I was a blogger. So Monday to Friday, I would blog and I would write. I had a column called A Daily Walk with God. And every morning I would write something and, had a decent following. And, then I took that and took it to MySpace. Remember when MySpace was popping?
Oh, yeah. That was, man, you're talking back in the 90s.
Back in the days. I had like 30-something thousand MySpace followers, and I would be over there like releasing my blogs on MySpace. And that was when Facebook was now starting to pick up. And I never really took Facebook seriously. It was like, that's for college students. I'm like, MySpace is where it's at. It's always going to be MySpace until MySpace died a sad and sorrowful death. And I went down with MySpace. So MySpace and I went down together. I was like, no. So there went my 30,000 friends. But thankfully, I learned a lot of things during those days.
Yeah.
That now I'm leveraging in many areas of my life.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from that. So we keep the Crack Door now. So I have something called the Crack Door Conference once a year.
Okay.
So this year, the Crack Door Conference was in early January, 3 nights. And the theme was from my new book, A New Mindskin.
Okay.
Innovation, creativity, and strategic thinking for the marketplace.
Okay.
So, we kept it going. So we do it every year. It never stopped.
Yeah. Wow. So give us a little insight to your book and what drove you to write it.
My book, A New Mindskin, came through the pandemic. So in the middle of the heat of the pandemic, which I would say would have been like mid 2020, late 2020, heading into 2021, I had this thing I was doing with, I would do these early morning meditations with a large group of people from around the world. And one of the things that I would talk about was the fact that this pandemic is changing things forever. It's changing the way we think. It's changing the way we work, the way we do social engagements, the way we do church. Our lives will never be the same. And I kept saying that throughout, from early in the pandemic. I was like, we have to change our mindsets. We need a new mindset. We need a new mindset. And I was speaking about a new mindset parallel to using the parable of the wineskin, and where Jesus talked about you have to put new wine in new wineskin because that new wine would break the old wineskin because the old wineskin wasn't expansive, because back in the day they used to use animal skins for wine. And I use the analogy of your mind being the wineskin and new ideas being poured into your mind. And if you have an old mindset, it's going to blow your mind. Wow. So it's time for us to be flexible with our thinking and be open to new ideas, be open to new concepts, be able to think outside the box that we typically think in. And I kept mixing up wineskin and mindset. And I kept saying mindskin. And I would always make the mistake of saying mindskin.
Yeah.
And, some of the folks who were listening to me while I was talking, they would make comments and they were like, hey, mindskin's a thing. Mindskin's a thing. And I was like, mindskin's a thing? You know what? That's not a mistake. We're going to run with this. A new mindskin. And that's how it started. It was a mistake. It was supposed to be mindset and wineskin, and we merged it into mindskin.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. And from there, all the transition from the changes that were taking place through the pandemic, I decided, you know what? For the first time in my life, I am going to be candid and really share the secrets of how, as a professional who brings his entire self to life, how I've been able to navigate through the different stages of the process of my life using scripture and practical examples and research and just mixing it all together. So if you read the book, you're going to see a lot of scripture. You're also going to see a lot of research. You're going to see science. You're going to see all kinds of things because it's about opening our minds to understand, hey, you need to bring your whole self to life. And as a human being, you are multifaceted.
Yeah.
You do not need to pretend to be one-track and try to be a one-trick pony when you're not. Human beings are very complex. And even if we pretend to be simple, there's a lot of complexity built into who we are, our identities, the intersectionality of all the different aspects of who we are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Think you are this, but you're really this, and that. And you have to embrace it all and say, you know what, I'm all of these things. And I'm okay with being all of these things. And I'm okay with being all these things at once.
Yeah.
And if
you're
you
right on,
deal with it.
Yeah. That's my mantra. It's just deal with it. It is what it is. That's what humans are. You talk about the pandemic and what has changed ever since the pandemic, and now post-pandemic, what's happened. You and I are doing these conversations now remotely. Everything's become more digital, streamlined. It put infrastructure, kind of going back to infrastructure, and a whole new way of like managing projects, having better communication, I would hope, using this type of, remote interactions, with each other to really improve the way we're building infrastructure in our communities. So we definitely needed something. And I'm going to pivot back to like infrastructure, because we were paper-based for so long. And now we're finally just getting into this like electronic processes, right? We're not even in digital. We're still like trying to get out of the paper process into electronic. What has been your experience with infrastructure changes ever since after COVID? So
the infrastructure I'll start with is the office infrastructure. So I have no office. And it's funny, coming up as a young engineer, that was one of the big accomplishments.
Right.
The day you got your office and you walked into your office and you swung your chair around, you're like, well, here I am. Right. And then we became modernized and there are no offices. So there is no office. There's no nothing. It's a laptop and that's your life. So my office is anywhere I am, on a plane, in a hotel, at home, wherever I am, I could just plug in and that's part of it. That's number one. Number two, as a result, the way we communicate information is now purely using these means. So when we do submittals, my main client, they don't want us to print out drawings and send it to them. They're like, send a PDF. When we're submitting proposals, upload it into some special site that has like very specific criteria that's going to check if you got all the documents in. I mean, things that you typically would never even thought of before, being able to sign documents, seal drawings. I'm a professional engineer.
Yeah.
To seal things without a seal. It's funny, just the other day I was doing an endorsement for one of my structural engineer members of my team who's going to get his PE. And he needs a bunch of PEs, 5 PEs to endorse him. So to do the endorsement, I had to actually get a physical seal to put on it. And I went downstairs in my house. I was like, all right, I know the seals are somewhere. Let me go pull out a seal. And the stamp pad for my seal is dry. Because I haven't used it for so long. Because I dropped it in and I stamped it and it was so light you couldn't see it. I was like, man, I haven't used this thing in so long. Why? Because it's electronic.
Yeah.
I just put my seal on a joint. I don't need to be 100 pages. By the time, you spend a whole day, it's like sealing day. All the PEs have to come here and spend the whole day sealing drawings and signing. Like, we don't have to do that anymore. So things have changed. Things have changed in the way we store information. You look behind me, you see this library. Now, when we say library, we mean something online.
Right.
We were like, hey, did you upload that thing? Did you put that thing in the library? Because we don't mean this. So we still have a throwback library here at Arcadis, but this is to remind all the new engineers, this is what life used to be.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
3-ring binders just storing data and sitting there on the shelf. Yeah, the story of our life back in the day. I remember meeting with public works directors and just be stacked on the wall. And I'm like, you got a USB drive for that? They're like, yeah, well, what's that? I remember having those conversations like, what the heck is a USB drive, right? Yep. And now we're moved into this whole world of everything digital, right? It's like everything's streamlining to this digital world that we're moving into. So where do you see the besides the metaverse and where the future of GIS is kind of going, where do you see infrastructure improving? Because it's still traditional. Like you look at bigger firms, there's a lot well, there's big firms, and then about 87% in the United States of these engineering firms are run by 20 people, 30 people, small firms throughout the United States.
Right.
How do you think we can get them to start changing from traditional to digital, move into that digital world that we're talking about?
Well, I think the software companies have gotten ahead of it with their subscription models.
Yeah.
Before everybody have to buy the same thing and get the CD shipped to you or whatever. Now with the subscription models, you probably based on the size of your firm and how much you need.
Yeah.
There's a tiered cost that will allow you to spend enough money to use the same software the big guys use or the big ladies use just for your 3 or 4 seats that you will need on that particular software. So as a result, we are now democratizing access to technology, to software, to programs that probably would have exclusively been accessible to those who had the money to pay for it. And obviously, that's just one dimension. Of course, technology does not make you modern. It's your thinking that makes you modern, which means training and development is also being democratized. You can go to the conferences. Everybody goes to the same conference, and you can sit down and learn things. You can take webinars. You can understand how to approach what you do in a more modern fashion. And you get to leverage the modern thinking, because part of our improvement as an industry and as infrastructure professionals is upgrading our thinking. So I'm a civil engineer. And one of the things with civil engineering is we are typically way behind other engineers when it comes to modernizing things, because we are very conservative. Why? Because our priority is typically something that involves public safety. So we don't take chances. So by the time, like, for example, when we go to a particular city or state, the code that's being adopted there, it's like 5 years old. It's like 6 years old. And they just feel comfortable to adopt that code from 6 years ago. Why? Because it's civil engineers making these decisions. That's how we are. We're just like, whoa, we need like 20 people to do this first. And then we may think about potentially putting together a task force to discuss it.
You're 100% on the money. 100%, man. That is spot on. I've never even thought of it that way, but hearing you say it makes total sense. We what's interesting is the way we look at infrastructure projects and trying to get that conservative side out of the engineers and to be more like, here's the information. It's here. We don't have to keep validating it, right? It's like, we don't have to get deeper into it and overcomplicate it. It's there. It's telling you what needs to happen. I think it would streamline everything so much faster. It would improve the way we build infrastructure faster, right? It would cut costs because you're not charging hourly rates as much as you would normally have to charge, right? And that's where software comes in, these technologies that we're talking about. And we could really improve the way we just streamline these processes to build infrastructure faster versus months or years that it takes us to build specs, to make sure everybody's on board. Do we got the right materials? Do we have the right contract? Do we right subcontractors? All that stuff takes forever. But right now we have all this technology sitting there that's telling us, hey, here's these companies and here's these projects, and we can streamline it much faster. I certainly hope that we can speed that process up with the civil engineers, and having you as an advocate will obviously help us for sure.
So. Change is hard.
It is.
And one of the things that I've done is I've made it my business to educate myself in change management.
Yeah.
Because I understand change is hard. And coming out of the pandemic, I understand that change is now a priority. And I am traditional. That's why I went into civil engineering.
Yeah.
I understand the mastery of coloring between the lines.
Right.
That is what makes me a good engineer. I can color between the lines. I can play by the rules. You give me rules, I'll play by them. You give me a box, I'll stay inside of it. That makes me an amazing engineer. Like, he's really good. He can stay inside of a box. Now that is the kind of engineer I want. So I could be that guy. So I understand how hard it is when somebody removes one of the walls of the box and says, come out. I'm like, out there? And they're like, yeah, come out the box. what's going to happen? Nothing. Come out the box.
Right.
But the guy who came out the box the last time, he never came back. There's a reason why he didn't come back.
Right.
Come out the box. You see, it's hard, and I get it. So as a result, for each of us, every lady, every man, every person that has chosen to enter into this field, we each have to have our day of reckoning when we decide, take a risk, even if it's calculated.
Yeah.
And maybe we may take a step forward. Somebody must have taken a risk. And that's why one of the things I love when I go to structural engineering conferences is I love to see certain projects from some of the top structural engineering companies. So there's this company called Thornton Tomasetti. They do some things in structural engineering. You just cringe like, oh, no, we can't. And their projects are amazing. And they're able to do things that you're like, huh, no, that's against the rules. They're like, what rules? Just make sure it stands up. Just make sure you understand the free body diagram and the way the forces flow. As long as you support the forces, let's take some chances.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just amazing. So it challenges us. Yeah. And that's my job now as one who has been challenged to now challenge somebody else. Someone who knows how hard it is to paint outside the lines and how weird it feels when, I just painted outside the lines. I shouldn't do that. And feel like, I don't know, is somebody gonna get me? Because I just painted outside the lines, to now tell someone else, it's okay. It's okay for you as a civil engineer to actually tap into your creative side. And that's why my book is called Innovation, Creativity, and Strategic Thinking for the Marketplace. Why? Because we have to come outside of the way we always see things. We've always done it this way. It's the safest way. Yes, I agree. But can we not be willing to think outside of the way we're accustomed thinking and be open to what someone else says, to at least try it, pilot it, risk a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, look, you just pointed it out. If you go outside the box, so to speak, it opens up a whole new world of creativity that you're talking about. The infrastructure that you're building is going to look amazing. It's going to have so many different characteristics of it, the architecture and things like that. It's just going to be a place where you now have taken your traditional firm or whatever, your traditional methods, and now you've just opened up Pandora's box, so to speak, of unlimited potential for structural engineering and just engineering in general, right? For everyone. So, man, thank you so much, Donnell. We're running out of time, but you got my mind thinking. So it was great to talk to you and hear the perspectives that you just put out there. And how can people get a hold of you, and where can they find your book and those things?
Yeah, so I am everywhere, but Google me and you'll find me. But seriously, I'm really everywhere. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's private, so you have to actually add me if you want to see anything, and I'm intentional about that. You can find me on YouTube. Look up my name. I'm all over the place. Just once you find my name, Donnell Duncan, you're going to be able to find me. My book is called A New Mindskin. And if you go on Amazon.com and you search A New Mindskin, there is A New Mindskin. It'll be my book. So definitely go in there and take a read. Let me know what you think.
I will certainly do that, Donnell. I appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast, and look forward to the next time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chad.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast. We hope that this show brought you some insight on relevant topics within the infrastructure world. Please join us every 2 weeks on Tuesday for the next episode. If you're interested in being a guest on this podcast, please set up a 15-minute interview with your host at calendly.com/Chad Smeltzer.